I'm back here at the St. Ambrose University League of Legends Invitational. My name is Dan Lovegun Dankert, and I'm here with
Lucas Swampshot Wendland, and it's actually that's not the right names.
Yeah, you're definitely not Reen.
I'm not.
I know Reen.
I
You're
wish
not
I
Reen.
was that good looking, but there's only so much we can do with life, I suppose. And we are here with the fourth and final match for Saturday between Waco and Central. I believe there's more to that name than just Central. Hold on. I think
Davenport Central.
Davenport Central?
I know that because I went to Davenport West, and
Gotcha.
they're our rivals. So.
And so it's looking to be like a pretty good game. And honestly, no matter how today goes, I am very much hyped for tomorrow's games. All the matches I've seen, like the winners that are going on, will definitely make wonderful semifinal games that I am looking forward to. But looking at this game specifically, we do have a Demoose 2-2-S1 in the top lane for Waco, followed by their jungler Tyrone 2004, their mid laner Zephyr, their ADC, this is my personal favorite name, Crispy Bacon, and then their support Bober 6789, and on the central side we have Prankster QAB in the top lane, Arctic 422 in the jungle, Apollo 15 games in the mid lane, Ivo the Artful in ADC, and Mystic Garn in the support lane. And it's going to be some very interesting matchups. Both of the mid laners on both sides said that they do prefer playing Ahri and Azir, and so it's going to be really interesting. Do they just decide to ban each other's favorites out? Do they let one person get one person get the other? It's going to be a really interesting matchup to see between Azir and Ahri, although I feel like Azir really hasn't had the nice touch-ups that Ahri has had in the past couple months.
Yeah, I do think Azir is kind of a sleeper pick. There's a lot of different ways you could play him in terms of rune choices. Lethal Tempo, Halo Blades, Comet. There's a lot of different ways to go with it. Electrocute. Personally, I think Azir is being slept on pretty hard. I think he has a lot of lane presence. He team fights really well. I don't know why pro teams aren't playing him more. And he also does really well in laning phase. I think the Ahri matchup specifically is tough for him because he doesn't have an easy way to dodge the charm. So if he can figure out a way to do that, he should be good to go.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like the Ahri can wave clear just as well, if not better than him. And some of the other things kind of noticed, let's see, in the support lane they mentioned one side prefers a Fiddlesticks while the other side kind of prefers the traditional Thresh. However, they did mention they prefer the untraditional Echo support, which I would be interested to see if he would go would he go Spell Thieves or would he go Targons?
Probably Spell Thieves, I would assume. That seems pretty good on him.
No more Tank Echo?
Yeah, and I also think that as somebody who plays a ton of support in solo queue, I'm a high gold, low plat support player. Seeing these non-traditional picks isn't exactly uncommon. I see a ton of Vel'Koz, I see a ton of Xerath. Brand is very popular. Those are not your typical meta supports, but they do really, really well, especially with the Relic Shield nerfs. I think you'll see a lot of the traditional tanky supports, your Threshes, your Brahms, your Tahm Kenches, start to fall out of favor, and some of these more non-traditional picks, a la Vel'Koz, Xerath, Brand, maybe even Annie after she had the auto attack buffs, you could see start to filter in once teams figure out the meta, figure out these patches even more. One of the things I'm looking forward to with this matchup is when we looked at the ranks. Now, we said this earlier today, it should be a close matchup. They seem to be evenly skilled in a lot of ways. Now, last time we said that, it didn't quite pan out that way.
We have a lot
but
more
we have a
evidence
hope
this time.
that it'll be a little bit more even between the two teams.
I think there's only two people that technically weren't ranked, and so we've got a lot of data from people being placed in those different ranks, and it definitely paints the picture of a lot closer game. And it looks like they are wrapping up on their pick ban phase, and so it'll definitely be very interesting to see who they choose, because when they definitely do have a lot of untraditional picks on both sides. I think like Anivia top lane was listed along with Lux jungle, which I'm kind of really curious over what exactly is the thought process there. And it's just going to be one to really look. Tom Kench top lane. That's one you don't really see anymore. A lot of people really favor the Tom Kench support just because you really do have a good get out of jail free card. I saw a couple games where it's like Tom Kench has flash and then cleanse. So he picks him up. If he gets caught up, you know what? Just cleanse. Boom. Still free.
Yeah, the big play right now with Tom Kench is running Unsealed Spellbook, being able to use Ignite, switch to Cleanse, have Teleport. You can make a play using your ultimate, like at Dragon Pit or mid lane, and then switch to Teleport and go right back, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of interesting things you could do with Tom Kench. I'd love to see it. I know this is going to be played in the top lane, potentially, and like you said, it's not a huge pick top lane anymore, so it'd be really cool to see, can this work in the current environment, in the current top lane climate? Because he's not going to be a Conqueror, probably.
Right.
And the top lane meta is already pretty crowded, pretty full of lane-dominant champions. So how does the Tom Kench fit in that environment? I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes.
So I'm just imagining all the possibilities right now, and we could see a Hail of Blades Tom Kench on hit.
Okay.
No?
I mean, it's possible. Your guess is as good as mine with it.
It's definitely one of the crazier picks, but
yeah.
I do agree with you, though. He's one of those champions that one core rune doesn't really fit the rest of him. So, like, if you're going for a really heavy poke, you could do Comet with his tongue attack. It's one of those things that it's just not a perfect choice no matter which one you really look at besides Unsealed Spellbook.
Yeah, definitely. And it probably depends a lot on what they want to be doing with it, like you were saying, whether they want to go for poke. Probably they want to play it more defensively. I think Grasp of the Undying would be really popular. I think potentially Aftershock could work too. You swallow your opposing or your opposing champion, and then you're good to go. Well, I don't know what that was, but now we're back to Champion Select, and we'll get to see what champions they did, in fact, play. And there is a Tom Kench, and it has been locked in.
Very nice.
We will potentially... I don't see a support there yet.
And a Draven, though.
So, Draven is my go-to ban in solo queue. I can't stand playing against it. It is Prankster. He is playing Tom.
I was going to say, Prankster is the one listed as the top laner, so that is most likely a Tom Kench top. We have not seen the support show their pick yet, which is Mystic Garn on the side of Central. But we do see a Draven locked in, and that by far could be a really good snowball pick alongside with the Veigar and the Kayn. A late game Kayn form Kayn could be devastating for some of these the enemy picks.
And remember, one of the champions that we were told Mystic Garn enjoyed playing was Pyke. And this morning I said there is a champion very similar to Pyke that has basically the same playstyle, and it's Blitzcrank. And we see he was dropped from the Pyke, he picked up the Blitzcrank. I assume he could perform that at a very high level. Also, like we said, is that Blitzcrank has a very interesting ability to warp the game around his hook and against what flashes are up for the opposing team. I'm really excited. These are some really high playmaking champions all over the place. Tom Kench Ornn top lane, though. Those are both very interesting because of the support aspect of the champion, right? Tom Kench, when we get into team fights, could be looking to swallow the Veigar, swallow the Draven, save them and reposition them, right? Whereas Ornn is going to be giving tons and tons of stats to the rest of his team. A Tristana with upgraded items is going to put her to a higher peak than she could have ever gotten without him, right? Because she wouldn't have those extra base stats that he's going to allow her to get. This is really interesting. I think it's going to be amazing. I'm super excited for this. Also, two good skirmishing junglers in Trundle and Kayn. This is looking like an amazing matchup already.
And really, that Trundle is going to be scary because really on the side of Central, there's only one really like pure tank. You do have the Blitzcrank, which can get pretty tanky, but not until very late into the game when he can get those items. But that Tom Kench can get very tanky very early, and that Trundle can just instantly shut that down using his ultimate on him, having or taking a good chunk of his armor, his magic resist. And I think the biggest thing that I'm going to be looking for here is the mid lane. Who's going to get the lead here? Because really, Zoe, if the Zoe can get the lead, there's so many people you could take out of the fight early. You know, take out half of Draven's health early. Okay, we don't have to worry about the consistent damage from the Draven. Take out Blitzcrank early in the fight. You don't need to worry about the hooks. Zoe pick here could be very, very crucial of a swing for Waco, just as much as Vigard could be. So I really think that a lot of the focus will be on the mid lane, just to kind of make sure we get that right swing.
And what's unbelievable here is the counter that Zoe actually brings to Vigar. Vigar usually uses his stun to generate room for him. Zoe, once she hits level 6, will be able to use her ultimate inside of it if she wants to and get right back out of it, no stun whatsoever, because it's like a blink, right? It's not going through that part of the stun. So if she lands a Sleepy Trouble Bubble, he can put down that circle, his stun, all he wants. Not going to affect Zoe whatsoever.
So it'll be
So, another question, kind of a joke, but it's an important question nonetheless. Okay. Does Blitzcrank build tanky, or does Blitzcrank build Rabidons?
See, you got to think of the mirror matchup here. Pyke is going to do hooks, do damage. So, you got to match him with hooks and damage, right?
Yeah, right? So, should he go tanky, or should he build a lot of ability power? Because, you know, I would love to see ability power Blitzcrank, because his ultimate has 100% AP scaling,
it
right?
It definitely does. And even his I think it's called Power Fist, has a pretty good scaling with it too.
Yeah, should be really, really good. I'm very excited. Whether it's AP Blitzcrank or tanky Blitzcrank, he'll still bring a lot to any of these team fights. He'll bring up picks for his team, hopefully, and it should be fun to watch.
And we just have to wait to see at this point.
And we're in the game. So, we played this game earlier today, right? Over or under 40 kills this game?
Under.
Okay. You think so?
I mean, I also guessed that earlier, so... Like I said, I think I would have guessed more towards like 30 maybe for this game, so I'm going to say under. And earlier, we just barely went over 40, so I feel safe with this bet.
I am going to go with over, of course, because we can't have the same answer. That would not make it very entertaining. But I'll say over, and also, never swap your horse mid-race, right? Isn't that the old saying? So
that is true.
I gotta
you were
stick
right
with
the
it
first
here.
time.
Hopefully.
And so it looks like we're seeing some pretty standard. Nobody's looking to invade, but we do have some vision going down. We have people basically keeping an eye on if there is going to be an invade, and right now we have nothing, but it does look like a pretty standard start for Kane. Looks like he is going to start Raptors, get a nice early start, because Kane can just clear Raptors. I'm pretty sure he's the fastest Raptor clear level 1 because of that Q.
Yeah. I would say you're definitely right there. Interesting thing to point out here, for Central, is that Central? I thought.
Central is
on the right side.
Central
the names are flipped
is
here.
on the right.
Yep, Central's on the right side. Their mid laner has teleport, and their top laner has ignite, whereas Waco, their top laner has teleport, and their mid laner has ignite. Not exactly the same sorts of ideas from those lanes.
So it seems like Prankster has the idea that he can out-damage the Ornn, and that can be a very dangerous mindset because Ornn has a lot of really hidden damages. And I feel like Tom Kench also does as well when he does go aggressive. So we'll just have to see if that Ignite is really going to benefit him or if that's going to hinder him.
It'll be very interesting.
And we're starting out with really just Kane is walking up, looked like he was looking at going top lane, but he's going for the scuttle, I'm guessing based on his map. And Central or Waco can see that perfectly fine what he's doing. Oh, and like I said, a lot of hidden damage. Tom Kench almost got first blooded right there before anybody even realized it. And now we've got the junglers fighting in the river, and it looks like Trundle won that fight. Kane is being forced to flash, but then the pillar comes up and he gets hit by the Sleepy Bubble Trouble. First blood going over to the Trundle off of a really good roam from Zoe, getting that Sleepy Bubble Trouble.
Yeah, it definitely seems like Waco had top priority and mid priority, which makes it really difficult for the Kane there, having both sides being able to squeeze him down. Actually, the Ornn probably should have roamed there sooner, but it didn't matter because the Sleepy Trouble Bubble was on point and took out the Kane. Excuse me.
I was gonna say, and Pike almost got a really good play, forced a flash out from the Blitzcrank, but he's got Hex Flash, so he'll still be able to give a nice surprise every now and then whenever he can really find the opportunity. And that's the really neat thing about Hex Flash, is he still can be unpredictable with it. And on the top side, it looks like Prankster is being forced under tower pretty heavily. He's getting some health back, but it's going to be so tough for him to stay in that lane, it appears. He must have taken a couple bad trades and barely making it out before he can be interrupted with that backing.
That was a little too close for comfort, I think. I don't know how it felt for you, but that gave me anxiety seeing it.
So far the score is 1-0 with that very early kill going over. And like you mentioned, these are two skirmishing junglers. They were looking for the advantage, and skirmishing junglers love fighting over that neutral objective in the river known as the Scuttle Crab. And everybody is playing really well so far. Nobody's making like major... Oh, and Blitzcrank's going in. Oh no, Tristana was going in on the Draven, and Blitzcrank was able to pull her away, keeping the Draven safe.
Yeah, probably saved Draven's life there. There was only one, maybe two auto attacks until Draven was done. Pulling the Tristana away saved him.
For sure.
There's a pretty interesting interaction here, actually. Tristana, if she's able to properly buffer her jump, can nullify the Blitzcrank pull. So it's a really, really high ELO type thing where it takes a ton of skill to be able to do, but we'll see if he's able to pull it off.
And Kane is ganking in the top lane, gets the slow on his W, but Ornn just able to get away before Tom Kench can really get in there. Trying to get something working up there, but it's just not working out. He was pushed in, which is a very good place for junglers to gank when the enemy is pushed in. So
It's so tough, though, to get kills with ganks when there's no for sure CC, right? Kane, until he goes to Ross, if he goes to Ross, doesn't have any real crowd control, and it takes so much for the Tom Kench to get his crowd control down, any meaningful crowd control down. It's a tough gank to try to ask of anyone.
And that's another really good point, is we do not know what Kane's final form will be. It's a really interesting thing. Oh, and we have Ornn going in, flashing out the moment he sees, but he looks like he's pretty conflicted on what to do. He gets the knock-up on the Kane, gets the slow, and Kane just didn't want to follow up with that. Saw the minion wave, probably didn't want to deal with it. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, it looks like Blitzcrank was able to get a hook onto Tristana, but she was able to successfully jump away from that danger.
That's another place where skill kind of comes into the matchup again, because the Blitzcrank, if he can properly time when he thinks she'll jump, can interrupt her out of her jump with his E.
Mm-hmm. And action going on everywhere. As in the mid lane, Vigar traded an ultimate onto Zoe after taking a chunk of damage. Sleepy Bubble Trouble coming out. Zoe takes a tower shot, but still not in any huge danger. Gonna clear the minion wave up, and looks like Zoe's backing now. But just everybody fighting everywhere. Nice clean fights though. Nobody's really like giving a clear advantage at this point. I can't really tell like who's leading besides in CS, where we've got a little bit going down to the Draven in the bot lane. Top lane looks to be in a little bit of a favor to Ornn, but nobody's got like a huge lead in CS.
Yeah, bottom lane is basically tied there, 52 to 51. Really close. And part of this is going to come down to how the two comps actually scale. Oh, well, we have a fight down bot side.
And we have Ignite on Tristana, but it looks like she was able to get away, and she used heal to stay alive through that. But oh boy, that was a close one. You can really see that hard-hitting early game Draven with those axes there.
Definitely. One of the things I think is interesting is we have had a ton of action, but only one kill. These teams are playing so well of getting out of these tough situations, these gank opportunities. They're blowing summoners, but it's okay if you blow summoners if you don't end up die when you use it.
And now we've got a couple people heading down to the bot lane. Trundle and Zoe trying to see if they can get something going there, but it looked like they kind of knew that was coming, and they do have vision in the river on the side of Central. So that, you know, Zoe being missing from lane and that ward kind of showing that position. Both teams getting some really good early wards down in the river.
If you're Central right now, you're down about 1,000 gold, but you're probably not too upset with the way this is going. One kill going over to Draven, ton of gold. If Vigar is able to scale, he'll hard outscale the Zoe in terms of how much damage he can actually put out in fights. And then Kayn, also, what an amazing late game carry. We have some action in the top lane.
Yep, and it looked like, oh, Ornn might still be getting the kill. We do have a fight going on with, oh, and Tahm Kench stays alive while Kayn is taking on the Trundle, and looks like he might get the kill. Trundle is healing from his ultimate subjugate though, and oh, just barely gets taken out by the Q of Kayn.
What an amazing play by Prankster Quab, baiting him under the turret, hitting his gray health, getting the kill back on the Ornn. Unbelievable stuff. That was amazing.
And Ornn's not done yet. He TP'd back to try and get the Tahm Kench there, but, and really, you gotta wonder, did Ornn see that Kayn was coming in and was like, okay, we gotta at least go 1-for-1, and so that's why he kept dedicating himself to that dive? It's one of those things you gotta kind of wonder, what did they see? Because we saw Kayn coming in. Did he see Kayn and just decide to go for the 1-for-1?
Very true. But either way, phenomenal play. Honestly, by everyone so far. Everyone's playing really, really well, and this is a very close game. Only about 400 gold difference right now.
And we do have early BF swords for the AD carries in the bot lane. Very good job. We have a slight advantage, it looks like, going over to Draven with an early longsword as well as boots. Meanwhile, in the jungle, both only Trundle has completed his full item. He's going full tank, it looks like, with a Cinder Hulk. I've yet to see exactly what Kayn is going to be doing, but I would guess he's going to build into Warrior Enchantment. And other than that, I can't see anything too crazy item-wise yet. Blitzcrank is heading up to try and... Oh, but he gets hooked instead of getting the hook.
Oh, beautiful.
Tristana buffered through that hook, making it and a flash from Draven to get the kill. That was just completely back and forth. And we have Trundle on the backside going in on the Draven. Should be able to solo him pretty easily if he can keep up, but he's just getting kited from the Draven. Meanwhile, Pyke was able to finish off the Blitzcrank on the backside of that play.
789. Do you know what that number's in reference to?
No.
The amount of gold Draven got from that kill. Unbelievable addition to your team if you're Central. Seeing your 80 carry just got 789 gold for that kill. So huge influx of gold for the Draven.
Trundle and Pyke are going to push into this tower using Demolish and Trundle's natural tower-taking ability. They're going to get the first two plates off of that, which is kind of unfortunate to see because now that 80 carries, Tristana's not going to be able to get those plate. But that does give gold to the Pyke and the Trundle, who are both doing pretty well. They both have a kill right now. And between Trundle is currently 100% kill participation with his team. And looks like now they're prepping for an Ocean Drake as Kayn is going top lane to try and get another gank. But Ornn is able to get away safely. It does not look like they want to dive him, however, as always, Ornn with the hidden damage numbers and the survivability. Just something you always want to think twice before you actually commit to.
So,
and then we had Zoe chunking some of Vigar out. But Kane on the hunt, trying to get something there. Jumping over the wall onto Zoe. She flashes, and he follows with his ultimate Umbral Trespass and gets the kill.
Really good mechanics there by Kane. Played it really well. Nabbed the kill on Zoe. Looking good for Central right now.
Off screen, Central actually got another kill onto their Draven. He was able to solo the Tristana, it looks like.
If you thought Draven hit hard before, imagine what a 2-kill Draven will feel like.
With a BF sword and a Vampire Scepter now. And a plate of gold for him, and no hook coming back on either side, as both were kind of looking for him. Blitzcrank giving the nice thumbs up.
I love it when Dravens build Bloodthirster first, because it reminds me of the old days. Back when Bloodthirster was like the #1 item that every single AD carry picked up. You had to stack it with getting minion kills. So, as much as I don't like playing against Draven in solo queue, seeing that homage to Bloodthirster always feels good.
So it looks like Vygar decided to roam up top. Looks like they were just going for maybe a lane swap, or maybe that's a sign of them looking to be done with the laning phase. But Tahm Kench is heading top lane. Honestly, it looks like all 3 members, the top through mid, are on the top side, so maybe they're looking to play around the Rift Scuttle? Or Rift Herald. Rift Scuttle. Whoops.
You see, Vygar's down about 14 CS, which if you're Vygar in this situation, you're probably feeling pretty good. You didn't give up a kill, you have an assist, you're scaling. You're going to scale so incredibly well. The Zoe scales pretty well too, but not many champions scale as well as Vygar does.
Oh, and Zoe was able to get Sleepy Bubble Trouble to chunk him out, but then Vygar was able to get the cage around her at the perfect time, trapped her in, and followed up with the kill. Kane was there to help, or I guess it's Ross now. He was there to help, but wasn't actually needed to get that kill. And now we know he was going for the Ross form, provide some extra tankiness and a little bit more survivability on the side of Central.
So we talked about this in some ways early, about how Zoe can play around the stun from Vygar, but that was the way you don't want to do it.
And Ross is getting CC'd up, and looks like they're still chasing after him. Orton missed his ultimate on return, and Ross is able to heal up and survive that fight, and then Tahm Kench able to eat him up and get him out of there just for the extra safety. Looked like a really bad spot for Ross there, but able to make it out alive.
You know, sometimes you're in bad situations and it just works out. That's how it had to have felt for Kane there.
Oh, but looks like it didn't work out perfectly, as they were able to get the kill onto Tahm Kench, and Kane was able to follow up and get the return kill on Ornn.
So what looked like a 0-for-1 in favor of Central ended up being a 1-for-1. Not bad by any stretch.
For sure. Now Zoe's just pushing in the mid lane, and looks like there might be some action. Blitzcrank might be looking for a hook. He just pinged a missing onto Pike there, and just clearing out some vision, but they definitely are pressing forward. They know a lot of their members are on the top side. A hook coming out just grabs a minion for Blitzcrank, and he's just there waiting for Draven to come back. And once Draven does come back, he is gonna be powerful. He has not only a BF sword, but a Bloodthirster now. He'll be able to sustain through just about anything.
I think at this point in the lane, if Blitzcrank misses a hook, it doesn't even matter. They could still probably win the 2v2. Until Tristana buys again.
Kane going in on the Ornn, trying to press forward, kind of punish him for stepping up, but Kane definitely taking the worst of the trade. Now he's getting blocked in by Ornn, or Trundle. Tommy able to eat him up and get him out of there before Ornn comes in to do the real damage there.
Really happy to see Rost here, actually, from Kane. He's going to be doing a lot of percentage health damage to Ornn, to Trundle, and he's going to be able to regen a ton off of it as well.
And it looks like they're actually doing a little bit of a funnel strat, letting Vygar roam top to catch all of that CS from Tahm Kench, really. Because that's about the second or third time we've seen Vygar roam up and just take CS.
We talked about this earlier in the sense that both of the top laners for each team are really supportive in nature, right? They're tanks, they'll bring their own unique utility to the team fights, and this seems to be another way this is being expressed by Central, by giving extra gold, extra stacks to the Vigar that the Tahm Kench is just sacrificing because he doesn't need it and the Vigar does.
And it's definitely paying off as Vigar has his second solo kill. We did miss that solo kill. We weren't able to get it on screen. But he was able to get a solo kill onto that Zoe while we weren't looking. And now he is 2-0. He's only 6 CS behind. And Blitzcrank going in, missing the hook. And looks like everybody's just going in for a fight, but nobody's really getting a clear advantage to follow up on. Pyke loading up the Q and just completely missing the spear, falling short. But Rasta's coming in. And a hook onto Tristana, but she's able to buffer her E out in time.
Really good skill expression by the Tristana there. She should have been dead to rights, but she used her rocket jump perfectly to get out of that situation.
And so leaving Central with only the tower there and not any kills. Pretty good response as far as things go. They committed a lot of members down there, and they were going to get something, whether it was a kill or a tower, and they were able to mitigate how much, and now they're just roaming up to try and get the Drake as well. Let's see if they're able to get anything back, and they're just going to let that go. But we do see a Sleepy Bubble Trouble come in, and Central is just charging up on Waco, even though they've got a member essentially out. And Zoe was able to push the lane just right. They actually got mid lane tower off of that Zoe push, and nobody was there from Central.
This is one of those interesting times where you say, is giving up Dragon worth mid turret? And to every team, that answer will be slightly different. Waco in this instance probably thought, we don't have a really good way to actually contest that Dragon. Let's get this other objective instead. Seems like the right call. Well played to them.
And it looks like they are going to go in on the dive for Ornn as Kane jumps in, gets some healing, and Ornn's not going to let him go away. He knocks him up and keeps him under tower long enough for the kill. Trundle's coming in from the side, going to see if he can pick off the Tahm Kench as well. Pillar comes out, starts eating, and all of a sudden he gets eaten up, and Tahm Kench flashes to get away.
Well, Kane went a little too deep there, but, I mean, sometimes that happens.
And a good response from Tyrone, seeing that, okay, they're going for the dive, time for me to head up, because that means they are overcommitting, and he was able to almost capitalize off of that overstep, gonna proc some demolish, and it looks like they'll be able to get a tower off of that play. But we do have a TP coming in from the Blitzcrank. No, Vigar. He cages them in, tries to get some damage off before the tower goes. Flash out from Trundle and Pillar to see if they can get anything more off of Vigar, but oh, and a Sleepy Bubble Trouble seems to catch him off guard, and eating up from Tahm Kench gets him to safety right before any major damage can be done.
Really well played there by the Tahm Kench to save probably a ton of damage that would have gone into on Vigar.
Sorry,
we have a lot of action going on top lane right
here.
A
lot of action. They're committing a lot of resources up to top, and there's Baron up now, as well as a tower that they can still get. Tahm Kench gets pulled back in, but nothing really gets followed up because the Vigar E just keeps them away.
Definitely not the target that Pyke was probably looking for.
But Blitzcrank gets a pull onto Ornn, and then Vigar is able to finish him off with his ultimate. Just a very nice, clean catch from the side of Central.
Blitzcrank's ult has a deceptively high amount of burst damage to it. It's got a high base damage, and then it also is 100% AP scaling. Now, he's not building ability power. Don't know why not. But even without any of that ability power, he's gonna pop a half damage or half health Ornn every single time between him and his teammates.
And we talked a lot about what Tahm Kench could do in the pre-game analysis, seeing, you know, what is he going to take. He ended up taking Grasp of the Undying, and he built a Roa first item. Kind of interesting. I don't know how many AP scalings he has. And another pull from Blitzcrank does give them the AD carry as they keep going in. Waco wants this fight, and they're actually following up pretty well, but Draven is able to get some kills back, and Rost is able to survive the fight. It looks like ultimately, gosh, what was that, a 2-for-1? Although it's not quite done yet, as Trundle almost falls to the Vygar. So he's able to just keep them pushed off.
Oh, that could kill him.
Oof. I did not even see that Vygar was caught. There's just so much going on at once. These teams are firing on all cylinders. And a Sleepy Bubble Trouble catches Kane off guard. Does a Palistar connect? No.
If she would have used Ignite there, it would have been extremely close to killing Vygar. Just extremely close.
And like I said, both teams are raring to go. Both teams are firing on all cylinders. They want this win.
One of the things that separates good teams from great teams is the ability to play proactively. And we're seeing from both this Waco team and this Davenport Central team a real desire to play the game proactively, which is really encouraging to see.
Very much so. Right now everybody's backed off a little bit. They're catching some waves. They're resetting, and it looks like Central is looking to take that mid tower. They've got the other two Tier 1 towers, and they're pushing that wave. Zoe is going to be there to defend it. Might not be able to wave clear in time, but she is throwing out the Palistar as the rest of Central is taking out that tower. Nice quick work made, and they continue the push, but now they've got some members. Oh, and it looks like Trundle is going in. I don't know what exactly happened there. And
Trundle was biting off a little bit more than he could chew, I think, and was able to get out of it.
For sure. And now Trundle is taking a very risky path, but he's able to get through just fine. And it looks like they're making this a full team fight game right now.
This is the classic North American ARAM style of League of Legends.
I was going to say some poking going back and forth. They're catching the Tom Kench out, and it looks like they do have the kill on there with the Pike. And they're going to keep going with the Ornn ult. However, they're being blocked by their own items. And Blitzcrank gets the pull, they get the stun, they get the damage on the Trundle. Evaporated like he has no armor whatsoever.
Crowd controlled to death is what just happened to that Trundle. Blitzcrank pull into knockup, into Vygar stun, and then Vygar ultimate, and Trundle's now facing the gray screen for a little bit of time.
And it's such a good game. They're really going back and forth, blow for blow here. Oh, we got your Tom Kench. Well, you got our Tom Kench. We're going to take your Trundle. That gives them the priority to take the Drake because they have no smite to contest it with.
Earlier in the day, we were talking about dragons and how they impact the game. Central now has 2 Mountain Drakes, which means all future dragons, all future barons, and all future turrets are going to melt under their auto attacks and spells. It's going to be unbelievable the amount of baron threat. If they play around it properly, they can exert on this Waco team. Also, with the pick potential that they have on top of it, this is an unbelievable winning condition that's kind of, I don't want to say fallen into the hands of Central, but it's definitely on their plate for the rest of this game.
It looks like Pike was trying to go for the flank there. Couldn't find anything perfect, and we still have Trundle on the other side. Almost look they're sandwiched between, but who's getting caught out here? Trundle flashes over the wall to make sure he doesn't get caught out. A Sleepy Bubble Trouble, and it looks like they're walking away for the most part. But Draven's getting caught out and gobbled up away, and looks like he is safe for the most part. A re-engage coming in from Ornn as Trundle is ulted and going onto the team. Kane gets taken out in the back line, and right now it looks like the advantage is for Central. Ornn gets caught in the Vygar E and sentenced to death.
We talked about what these top laners bring, and we just saw it. Tom Kench was able to get the Draven out of trouble, reposition him in the fight, and allow the Central team to reform and destroy Waco. That's what just happened. The Pike got in there and just popped. Really good team fighting from Central right there. Also, look at the item breakpoints for the team. On Central side, Draven has Bloodthirster and Infinity Edge. On Waco's side, we're talking about Infinity Edge and Zeal. Huge gold disparity. Also, look at Vigar. Vigar already has a really amazing core of items in Luden's Echo, Void Staff, and his Magic Pen boots. That's really, really big for winning those team fights. It's so much team fight power in those carries already.
And a really interesting build coming out from the Trundle, actually. He's got the Warden's Mail, but then he's got a, I believe it's a Kirch's Shard and a Brawler's Glove. So it looks like he's trying to get some crit in there, which is very interesting because he's got tank otherwise.
Sometimes you just need a little crit chance in your life, you know? It's like the old days when you took 1% crit chance runes, you know, on all your 80 carries.
So what I'm hearing is he's no longer trying to live on a prayer.
No.
And we have Rost coming in, looking to get the flank onto the Trundle, and they're slowing him up. They're trying to buy time for Draven to get there. And Draven never actually... Draven did get to the Trundle, but only barely, as mainly Kane and Tom Kench got him there. Tom Kench goes in on the Tristana while the Pyke goes in on the Kane with Zoe. And a pull coming from Blitzcrank is making Pyke wish he hadn't there. Tristana's able to stay alive from the Tom Kench, although look at how much damage Tom Kench has taken. It's almost nothing.
I think we need a sticky situation counter on screen here so we can count the amount of times that Kane almost dies or should dies, but doesn't actually die.
And Ornn is trying to defend that tower, but they've got too many people there, too many tanky members to absorb that damage. Blitzcrank is able to get a pull on Ornn, and that's able to give a good chunk of damage, but they don't stack the CC right to keep him in there. Vigar's coming up now, and he's got extra damage coming in, some extra CC. Tristana's trying to do as much damage as she can to that front line, but it's exactly that. It is a front line that she can't get through. That demolish damage was insane. And Pyke was caught out of turn. Ornn's trying to go in, and just nothing is really happening. Tom Kench is managing to survive despite everything going on. Draven flashes in, gets a kill on Ornn, but then falls to Zoe. And Tristana and Zoe are the only ones left alive right now to defend the base.
Draven going in with the aggressive flash for the kill and then dying, but at least he can say, I'm playing Draven, it's worth, I just got all this extra gold.
And he's only 5-1 right now. That was his first death of the entire game. So playing very controlled. Zoe trying to do, and this is just very impressive. However, this might be the end of it, and Zoe does get the shutdown onto Tom Kench with that Sleepy Bubble Trouble Battlestar combo.
Tom Kench got a little overconfident there in how much damage he could tank, but really, that's some pretty good damage coming in from the Zoe, even if, you know, he overstayed there.
And I was very surprised at how well he was surviving against that Tristana, but I really shouldn't have been. I should check the items. He's got a completed Dead Man's Plate, he's got a Chainmail, and he's got a Bomby Cinder. He is tanky as far as ADCs are concerned.
Full stacked Roa also gives him a lot of health, a lot of mana. I'm a little bit surprised by that. It was popular with old Tom Kench, but that was before they added other items that also give you a lot of the benefits that Roa does, but also magic resistant, which would probably be more helpful.
And that is the third Mountain Drake for Central. They are going to be able to go through everything. Blitzcrank almost getting the hook on that Trundle, but Rost is still going in. Not really finding him, but forcing the flash out of the Trundle by kind of cutting off his escape route between him and Draven.
Davenport Central seems to be asserting full control in this game, able to go into Waco's jungle and do basically whatever they want. I would like to see more vision control on this side of Central, but honestly, when you're this far ahead, tons of vision control isn't always necessary. Though, they should still go for it.
And Draven doing a good chunk of damage. Looks like they're starting to just chip down. Now that they have a minion wave, they'll probably go in, but Waco is there, trying to defend that best they can. Draven gets hit by the Sleepy Bubble Trouble and can't be followed up on. And Tom Kench is able to get the final hit on that tower. And they're just walking in. They're not getting any resistance right now. Oh, I spoke too soon because Kane just got a good chunk of damage out from the Zoe as damage gets traded back And now that Tom Kench is caught under tower, they're stacking their CC. Pike gets taken out pretty quickly, a lot faster than the Tom Kench did, and Ornn gets taken out by the Vygar. And Tristana got hooked one too many times there by the Blitzcrank. Very nice job from the support player there, Mystic Garn, as Zoe just keeps doing her best to poke it. She's bringing them all down to half health pretty consistently, but not any further. Trundle gets pulled back by Blitzcrank and finished off by the rest of the team.
With 4 members down for Waco, you have to feel that Central is going to be able to close it out right here.
I would agree. Zoe's doing her best. She's caught in the E, but forcing them off. Barely surviving. Their Pike's coming in, trying to get the CC and gets the execute onto the Kane, but they can't stop him. Just barely getting that last hit off.
I love the Blitzcrank just recalling while his Draven is just axe after axe after axe after axe after on that Nexus turret. But
for sure,
you know, Blitz just wanted to, you know, get a bear in this game. He wanted to keep playing. He was having so much fun. He didn't want it to end, but Draven had other ideas.
And that was a super close game. I think even if they did manage to kind of keep the Draven off in that time, it would have been a very tough road on the comeback. But hey, if that Nexus is still up, there's still a chance for a comeback. That's one of the beautiful things about the game. He can amp up late game. And Zoe definitely proving that she was doing consistent damage, consistently taking out half of their health, but just not able to convert to a kill.
Yeah, really interesting damage numbers. Look how much the top laners did. Really demonstrating just how much they were actually fighting up top. Both of them did really respectable damage numbers. In fact, Ornn did practically twice the amount of damage that Tristana did, right?
Oh yeah.
So, really active top lane. And when we think about how that game played out, we saw a lot of top versus top and top jungle versus top jungle fights. And that really determined a lot of this game outside of Vygar being able to find solo kills elsewhere. So, we saw a really interesting game here. What do you think are going to be adaptations the teams make in draft after this?
I almost feel like they gave him too safe of a late game with Vygar. And the way he played laning phase was perfect.
Yeah.
Didn't make too many risks. They did a good job of funneling more resources into him. They let him catch a lot of waves in the top lane for a little bit more gold. Able to just amp up really well. I feel like they almost need to let him get on a pick that he's not that comfortable with, because he was very comfortable, had very good placements with his E, and just overall very good damage, obviously very good damage. Getting pretty good kills. He got a couple solo kills on that Vygar. I feel like that's the strongest link right there. Like, you could give everybody else the same chance. Draven would still be a very difficult choice. Do you want to ban that out or let him have it? I'm a little torn on if that was the case, but I feel like the Vygar was too pivotal to let him stay around.
Yeah, I completely agree. Vygar really did take over this game, and he was only going to get stronger as the game goes on. Next item, or 2 items from now, we're talking about Rabadon's, and that infinitely scaling ability power that he has only increases the amount of damage he's really able to put in these team fights. I don't think Vygar, you can let him continue to play it, but I want to say something, and this might be a little bit controversial. Our viewers at home might not agree with this. I would take away Tom Kench.
Okay.
Tom Kench made mistakes, but ultimately, I thought he survived in that lane against Ornn really well, and I thought that his repositioning on Draven in one of those fights, when it was on the bottom side jungle, won them that team fight. It took the Draven out of probably being the first person to die, repositioning him and allowing him to put in tons of damage. An extra support character like that enables the two real carry threats of Davenport Central to be that much stronger. Oftentimes, top laners get a ton of gold, ton of resources, and they're sort of like this really big tank or this off carry or whatever. But they completely flip the script here. Tom Kench was never getting 100% of the resources top lane. He was sharing them with Vygar. He was making sure his other carries were on top. It was basically a double support comp from this Davenport Central team, which was really strong, especially with two incredibly late game scaling champions as Vigar and Draven. I really loved it. I think that was a really unique adaptation to what we usually see from League of Legends. I thought it worked really, really well.
Okay, so we looked at it from the perspective of like, okay, who do you want to remove? Now here's Central's question. Who do you want to let them have that same comp, or is there something you would change? Is there a pick that you thought they were maybe too comfortable with that they could have come back because of that pick?
I don't know if they could have came back with this pick, but I was really impressed by the Zoe. Honestly, Zoe was doing a lot of damage, was hitting a lot of herd bubbles, was hitting a lot of paddle stars. I was pretty impressed with it overall. Now, granted, I think Vigar got the better end of that matchup, and I thought he played better than the Waco mid laner, but I was still impressed overall in that game from that Zoe. If you were to ask me who was the best player in that game, I'd have said Vigar. If you'd have asked me the second best player in that game, probably saying Zoe in terms of how I thought they played given the circumstances of the game, right? So I don't want to give him that Zoe again. Plus, Vigar was able to exploit the ultimate from Zoe, but it can also play the other way, like we talked about it earlier. There are times when the Zoe is going to be able to use her ultimate to dodge stuns instead of getting stunned. And that has to be in the back of their mind. That yes, Vigar got the better end of this matchup, but it's not always going to be that way. There's enough expression, skill expression in that kit, in that matchup, for Zoe to get the better end of the deal if she's able to properly express it, which I think we saw flashes of it in that first game.
Now, here's kind of my observation, and this is what I kind of want to see in the next game, is do they keep the Pyke on the side of Waco, or do they look to get something a little bit tanker? Because I feel like Pyke almost too often got in a little too deep, either because he was going in head first or because he got pulled and just couldn't survive long enough to get out and get that sustain from his own kit. I feel like they possibly want that Thresh, and I'm curious to see if that got banned out in the first game, or if that's something that he never really looks at. You know, Pyke and Thresh really do have very similar styles. One's a little bit more damage and kill focused, one's more tanky and support. It'd be very interesting to see how the supports kind of get shook up.
So, I'm going to take some liberties here of saying they can play anything in the support lane right now. I think Thresh should be really good. I think stealing the Tahm Kench should be really good. I think Alistar would be really good. I could even see Leona playing pretty well. I do think that the Pyke oftentimes got caught too deep without the survivability to make it work. Other tankier champions probably could have survived that. Alistar definitely could have. Leona definitely could have. You could steal away the Tahm Kench, which was a very powerful pick in my opinion for Davenport Central. There are other picks that I think would make better sense of completing the puzzle that is a team composition.
And honestly, really good team composition from Central, doing a good job of getting that support Tahm Kench mixed in there with very pick heavy of Blitzcrank, but then having that early game Draven. I feel like they drafted that in just because he is a strong early game, and then that leads to a strong late game. But even if that Draven doesn't get ahead early, they have that Vigar. He will always be there, and then Kayn can sustain through just about anything with his passive, his Q, his ultimate. He's meant to survive, especially against really big picks like Trundle or Ord.
Here's one of the things we think about from a coaching perspective with both the Vigar and the Draven picks. They don't have a lot of really amazing built-in survivability like dashes or really easy to hit crowd control. Like, for example, if an Ashe is getting dove on, she can just ultimate whoever's in front of her, right? But when you put both of those kind of vulnerable champions with a Tahm Kench and a Blitzcrank, you provide the cover they need to actually be able to put out all of the damage to maximize the kit as much as they can, which I thought they did really, really well. Like I said, in my opinion, this was an excellent comp that is really hard to play because it's atypical, and they played it to almost, I think, its maximum potential. I was really happy with their comp.
So, real quick, it looks like they're going through their pick ban phase right now. 2 points that you think Waco should focus on during this ban phase. Either a pick that they should try to get again, or a pick that they should keep Central from getting.
I'll say this. those things are good. But if I'm Waco and I have a couple things to focus on this game, the first thing I'm thinking about is how can I get my mid laner ahead. Because if they get their mid laner ahead, whether that's picking Zoe, whether that's denying Vigar, the ultimate end goal there is to get your mid laner ahead because it'll spread to the rest of the waves. The rest of the lanes, excuse me. The other thing I think I would say is figure out what exactly you want to do with your support role. The Pyke didn't really feel great. There are other champions that could probably have more utility. They could be a little bit more useful. Pyke, for me, seems like a feast or famine type player type champion. If you aren't able to get those huge ultimate kills and all of that gold influx that comes from it, doesn't seem to be really worth it. And there are a lot of other champions where if you want to just kind of play bot lane really passively, scale to the late game, grab a support that has a ton of impact in the late game, like an Alistar, like a Thresh, things that can give you other win conditions or can enable other pieces of your team to become a win condition.
Okay, so to summarize, keep Zoe.
I'd say so.
Replace Pyke. Figure something else out in the support, but just try something different.
Yeah.
And then, as far as Central, honestly, I don't know if they really need to change anything. I feel like they did enough this first time around that if they can keep this same rhythm into the second game, they'll be golden, because the early game was a very nice, close match, and then they just started getting enough leads one after another to give them that great finish.
The storyline for me for Davenport Central this game is, can they properly adapt to the changing draft conditions that will be imposed on them? Because you're going to have picks that they played be either banned or stolen. Well, hopefully that's what happens. That's what I assume is going to happen. And if that does happen, how are they able to adapt? What other champions can they plug and play that will have a similar impact, that will put them in similar positions to get another victory?
So
okay,
it does look like they're done with their picks and bans, and so will be interesting. It sounds like there might be some audio issues that we're looking into at the time, and it does look like we do have the picks coming out. We're going to wait for some of them to lock in. Right now we have Jarvan Yorick locked in on the side of, I believe that is Central, followed by Jin Azir. And this is interesting because Jin really hasn't been that popular in this early season.
Yeah, this is a completely different looking team composition for Davenport Central already, right? We don't have a Tom Kench, we have a Yorick. We don't have a Kayn, we have a Jarvan 4. We don't have a Draven, we have a Jin. We don't have a Vigar, we have an Azir. I'm assuming, I'm making some assumptions here because we didn't get to see it firsthand, but I'm guessing they were pushed off a lot of those picks in the ban phase, the pick ban phase. Mm-hmm. But we also have a lot of stuff that's pretty good together. Actually, so I don't know how much I should talk about this, but in solo queue right now, me and my duo partner are playing Xerath and Jhin because it's incredibly strong. There's a lot of distance, there's a lot of damage. Vel'Koz's Jhin acts very similarly, and the synergizing between the two ultimates could be really, really powerful come the actual like mid-game skirmishes. Okay, so if you're able to get a knock up, Vel'Koz ultimates, okay? It's slowing, it's doing a ton of damage. Then Jhin is able to ultimate behind it as well, and you're going to have a ton of damage coming out of this Davenport Central bot lane. Should be really awesome to watch. Then you have Yorick right now, who's actually really, really strong, considered a very high-tier champion. Got nerfed a little bit in this latest patch, but is still really strong. Jarvan also is getting a decent amount of play across different regions, and here we come to this Azir, right? We talked a little bit about it. We didn't know exactly how strong it is. I like it, but a lot of the experts necessarily don't. On the other side, for this Waco team, we have an interesting team comp. I guess it's a lot of engage. If you look at it, Ornn's able to engage, followed by a Sona ult, followed by a Sejuani, plus then you have a ton of damage coming out of Jinx and Echo. Echo could very easily go in and then stay there and ultimate right back on top of them because of how much CC is actually present in this team composition.
What I think Waco is thinking is, we're just going to look to fight. We're going to look to fight. We're going to make them fight. And with that Jinx, as long as we can keep that Jinx alive, If we make them fight, that Jinx is going to amp up, and she will be almost unstoppable in these late game team fights. The really interesting thing, too, is we have a little bit of a swap, I think, with Crispy Bacon. He was playing mid lane last time for Waco, but now he's playing Sona, I believe. And Ober is on the Echo, possibly in the mid lane. I'm going to guess that's what's going on. Otherwise, it's a Sona mid lane and an Echo support, which would be interesting. One shot AP Sona, not going to lie, I've tried it. It can work.
Sona mid was actually pretty popular in Korea for a while. It was a very popular solo queue champion. Though I do agree, it does seem like it was a lane swap, most likely. If I were a betting man, that's what I would place my money on. But we can always hold out hope for something really crazy.
And some pretty standard summoner choices. Everybody's got Flash. I saw, let's see, Sona had Ignite, Echo had Ignite, and then TP coming in on the Ornn. And I think it was that Ornn was possibly taken away, or no, not taken away from Waco. That looks like the same pick as last time. They really liked his engages. They really liked his survivability. There was a lot of fights that really could have gone south for that Ornn, but he was able to turn it around and get something back.
And he did a lot of great things with it, but he also missed a couple ults. Probably a couple big ones, too, in that last game. But those are minor mistakes, right? If he's able to fix that, some of those team fights might flop around, might go in the way of Waco. They're putting the faith into him to rectify those mistakes, and I applaud them for doing that.
But Waco, at this point, they've got I really like their comp this time around a lot more than last time around. They just got to take all the mistakes they had, remember them, but that was last game. You got to focus on this game. You got to get ahead, and I'm really looking forward to seeing if they can keep this Jinx alive and fed enough to where she'll be that monster in the late game. She really doesn't need a lot of resources, but if she gets behind early, she's going to be really tough to get going in the late game, no matter how much they're trying to fight.
I wonder if part of what happened was that the mid laner for Waco had both of his most prized mid lane champions either taken or banned, and was having to fall back to something, and thought that maybe a different character would be better off being in there instead. I wonder.
So we're starting out early. Everybody going into game 2 of match 4, possibly the last one. I really hope that this isn't, because this is a really good team. Honestly, I think one of the best matchups of today. Just a very entertaining, very back and forth, and nobody really ran away with anything until it was really late.
So just a quick clarification, Central is up 1-0, but Central is actually the team on the left and not the team on the right.
Yep, that is, we'll get that corrected here pretty quickly, but we have, let's see, Ornn on the Waco side. Sejuani, which is going to be a very good engaged, another resource that really doesn't need too much divulged into it, but I think they're shifting a little bit for Central, where they've got this Yorick. How does this Yorick fit in? I don't think he really does. I think he's going to just be split pushing, because the moment you can get that Ornn away, you know, that's just a lot less resources that Waco can use to engage in the late game.
Yeah, I definitely think the Yorick should just sit in the side wave. With the actual comp that Central has, there's actually a pretty good chance that they win a 4v5 if they're able to properly hit a Jarvan EQ into ultimate combo with the Vel'Koz putting damage down, the Azir putting damage down, and then the Jhin actually ulting. That's an incredible wombo combo that could actually just win those 4 against the 5 members of Waco if it's properly executed. A lot harder said than done to get like a 4 or 5 person Jarvan ult. But still, I would much rather have that Yorick in a side wave where he's able to just destroy towers, keep pushing, keep putting global pressure on Waco. Global pressure, good split pushers, suffocate a team out of so much ability to move around the map or control what's going on. And that should be the focus for this Yorick, is to just suffocate Waco till the end of the game, till they destroy the Nexus.
Down the bot lane, looks like Central was able to get the early level 2. Gonna try and get some poke down onto the Waco side, but they are now level 2 as well, and honestly, that Sona is just gonna be able to keep him alive. Early gank coming in from Jarvan onto the Echo. He's dashing out, doesn't have to flash. Really good job holding onto that. A lot of players would get a little bit too scared, spooked, and they would just flash out. But with that skin, he's perfectly in his element there.
Yeah, definitely good patience not to just blow the flash. That was really, really good. Some players will even just flash the second they see the flag, and they'll just flash out of there knowing that it could be really bad, but that was really good for him not to.
Whoa! First blood coming in from the Ornn on the Yorick, trying to keep him away, but too late to put that wall up. Something we always seem to forget about, I always forget about it whenever I'm playing Ornn, is how much hidden damage he's got. He's very deceptive.
It's all about getting that passive, right? Getting brittle on your opponent and then breaking the brittle. If you're able to do that consistently, you're going to do tons of damage. It's really hard to do. At least he's in a melee to melee matchup where it's a little bit more possible. But against a ranged matchup, you're kind of helpless.
So looking at some quick runes as the jungler's fighting over a Rift Scuttle. Jarvan going to win that one. Central going to come away with the early vision there. Pretty standard runes as far as I can tell. Yeah, we've got really both Jhin and Jinx want to get to that late game. They're saving up. They're using the fleet footwork to stay alive. And now Jarvan is actually looking to roam up to top lane. He's going to come in behind the Ornn, get a return. We get the slow on him both times, get some damage off, but just not able to get the knock up. That was probably the most crucial part. We do see the slow coming in from Yorick, and the moment Yorick sees that miss, he just goes back to farming.
So we're about 2.5 minutes in here. Gold is basically tied. Do you think we'll see a game 3 or not?
I want to say yes, because right now, I've said before, I think I just like Waco's team a little bit better. I feel like the Yorick, they can definitely get it to work for the side of Central, but they just need to be able to get him ahead enough, and right now, it's not looking promising. The Ornn's already got 1 kill. Yorick is ahead in farm by just a little bit. Actually, at this point, it's probably just even, you'd call it. But Sejuani's heading down, seeing if they can maybe get a gank off onto the bot lane of Central. But they've got some wards out, and their Vel'Koz playing really far ahead, trying to get those passives off, and almost getting caught out himself, but very aggressive. He knows where to go, and he knows the angles.
That's a really good dodge, actually, by the Sona to backstep. A lot of players will just keep running away because that's, they think, the best opportunity for them to escape is. Backstepped, didn't get knocked up, was able to get out of there.
And Sejuani revealing herself on that ward almost looked like she wanted to go around the long way, but seeing how they responded, I'm guessing she just saw they backed off a little bit, reacting to her and just kind of seeing that was going to be a bad gank. Because on top of that, you also have the Jarvan in the area. And trading from Yorick onto Ornn is going very favorably now, as he got that E on him, getting those minions to attack him voraciously.
So we saw that Ornn was able to beat Yorick earlier, but really, from a matchup perspective, this has to be pretty heavily in favor of the Yorick because of his ability to harass with his ghouls. I don't know what happened the first time. Maybe Yorick wasn't able to harass enough with them before the all-in happened. But you have to think, if this lane is even close to even, Yorick is going to be able to grind advantages off this Ornn long-term.
And it very well could have been just too early for Yorick to get those ghouls up. And now they're still going for trades, and some damage getting onto the Jinx Sona, some damage getting healed. They're doing a very good job surviving all of this poke.
What's fascinating to me right now is Central currently has about a 500 gold lead, but gave up first blood. That's like 400 gold that they started off with a handicap and are now up 500 gold.
And right now the mid lane just seems to be a lot of farming. Nobody really wants to roam because both sides are clearing the wave pretty equally. We're getting a gank coming in onto the Yorick, it looks like, from the Sejuani. Doesn't see it coming. The knockup missing from Ornn, and a preemptive flash from the charge in. It looks like he's getting caught up enough and stunned up and taken out by the massive CC. As you saw, Sejuani missed her first knockup. Ornn missed her first knockup. They still had plenty left.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a misplay by the Yorick. The only thing he had to be really worried about was the second part of the Ornn knockup, like really putting him down into place. Because if you look, Sejuani at the time of the fight was only level 4. So she didn't have ultimate to lock him down. Another thing here is actually Yorick had no mana for that fight. Even though he was level 6, he wasn't able to ult, which would have given him a lot of recovery and a lot of damage there. He could have actually potentially turned that around if he'd had a decent amount of mana. So ultimately, really good play by Waco. Way to be proactive, and unfortunately it just didn't work out very well for Prankster Quab.
Speaking of not working out, it looks like Ornn is getting the bad end of the deal now as Yorick was able to cage him up, summon the maiden, and slowly drain him out.
The power of the Gravedigger showing in full force right there when he's able to use his ultimate.
And yeah, it really has to be right now. The matchup is definitely favoring Yorick. All he's got is a Sheen with some null magic cloaks. Looks like he's maybe going for the early tenacity with the boots. I forget which boots they're called. And now J4 is even up here, and they're getting plates off, getting the split push started early.
So we're seeing them get a whole bunch of plates here, which is very important. But what a lot of players don't see when they see this play is the amount of waves that are being lost that Ornn is never going to get in terms of gold and experience. They pushed 2 waves in, and then they got a majority of them done. Now, Ornn is going to be able to collect some of this gold, but probably not a lot of it, but he is going to get that experience. So it isn't a complete loss for him, but still, really good macro play coming out of Central from here in the way that they used waves to their advantage.
And it looks like Ornn was getting into a bit of a fight top lane. And I don't know what exactly happened there, but the Ram's coming in. He's knocking them back. He's going for more fights, and he's getting the Jarvan to come back in. It looks like everybody's going to end up walking away, but it looked like Ornn was just trying to buy time for Sejuani to show up.
Yorick is hoping and praying for an Ocean Drake so we can get more mana.
Ultimate coming out from Sejuani, missing the mark, and Ornn being caught up by the Yorick. Jarvan going back in, flashing out, but still dying to the Sejuani. Meanwhile, Yorick is stuck in a bad spot now as he's just going to be picked off with the rest of the CC they have left.
Another instance of Yorick just not having any mana. His ultimate wasn't available, but your ability to fight back with mana is so much more than without it. Also, questionable decision for Jarvan to go back in there. I don't understand if he really thought, why he thought he could turn that fight around.
It is, my guess is he was looking to separate them, but that's kind of the tricky thing about Ornn's E is it destroys that like temporary terrain that gets formed by other champions. And J4 just still going back in, trying to get some damage off. Trying to save some plates from that. And you can see they're trying to get Yorick going on the side of Central. And they're trying to make it so he can split push. And you see Sejuani's there mitigating everything that they're doing. I don't see Waco really doing anything proactive, but I don't think they really have to at this point.
No, but again, I talked about this earlier, the fact that Central was up even though that they gave up first blood. They're down 4 kills to 1 and they're still up 500 gold. Their CSing or whatever they're doing is really, really strong and keeping their lead intact right now, despite questionable plays in the side waves.
I was going to say, looking around at the CS differentials, their ADCs are dead even in farm. The mid laners, we've got a bit of an advantage going to Azir, but that is a ranged matchup into a melee matchup. There is going to be it's a little bit harder for an Echo to keep up, and he's done a good job keeping up with it. Meanwhile, in the top lane, we've got a bit of an advantage going to Yorick, and junglers are dead even as well. J4 even is probably getting a pretty big advantage from getting all of these plates. He was there for the top lane plates, and now he's here for some mid lane plates. Thank you very much, Azir. He's saying.
Seems to be that Central, their individual laners, their individual players, even though they're making mistakes and dying here and there, are still playing at a very high level, especially mid lane, where they do have that CS advantage and all the plates and the waves that they've denied that we've seen a couple times.
And Yorick's on the wrong side of the tower. Did somebody tell him that? Because he is currently dealing with not only Ornn, but a minion wave as well, and if Ornn had any mana, that could have been very bad. It still might be bad, because Sejuani is on her way up. I'm curious what Yorick is thinking, but he still might be able to get the first tower off of it. And he is able to get the first tower. He's not going to be able to escape as Sejuani flashes to follow. Or he is with the Grasp of the Undying. He is staying alive, refusing to go down. Gets the kill on Sejuani. He's going for that play, and he's going to back off, but the rest of the team is here. Azir and J4 are going to be able to clean up this Ornn very handily without the Yorick.
What amazing individual skill expression by Prankster there to be able to get out of that. Unbelievable. Taking the Sejuani from full when you had almost no health and no mana, turning that play around, unbelievable. Excellent, excellent play. Made some mistakes this game thus far, definitely. But that was unbelievable. Hashtag LCS big plays, or in this circumstance, hashtag SAU High School Invitational big plays.
Exactly. And really, it's kind of unfortunate because at this point, Sejuani should really just kind of let this lane go at its own pace. Maybe be looking at some other lanes, helping out this Jinx and Sona, getting that Jinx online even sooner, or going for that Infernal Drake. That would be massive for the Echo and everybody else on the team.
Looks like mid tower going down here too. Maps looks like it's crumbling a little bit for Waco right now.
Yep. Echo was looking to maybe save it with a quick stun, but not enough tower for that to be a good risk.
What started off as a small gold lead for Central, despite how close kills were, is starting to become a little bit of a problem for Waco. It's up over 3,000 gold now. That's a lot of extra money, extra items, extra actual stats, battle stats in Central's pocket heading into these mid-game team fights.
And now Yorick is just doing his due diligence. You know what? J4, thanks for coming up to me. I'm going to now hit the rest of the team that you weren't able to get to. Was there to help Azir take that mid lane tower. Now he's in the bot lane looking to just open up the map more, and really they're looking to get this split push going full steam, because now that there's no towers anywhere, they're even going even further in. Jinx is trapped in that wall, and just well played by Central, and the bot lane being patient, waiting for their right time to strike.
Did I just say 3,000 gold lead? It's now ballooned to almost 5,000 gold lead for Central. What was very close is now becoming not so close in a hurry.
And a very good control from Central, because you mentioned, you know, they lost First Blood. Now they're going to be getting the first Infernal Drake of the game, but they lost First Blood, and things really weren't looking good because they were down 1 kill to 4. But now, they're the ones that just got 4 kills in a row without anything to show for the side of Waco. They're coming back to a very strong presence. However, Waco is able to get a nice quick tower. Echo's getting caught out, and he is barely able to ult back. Flashes away, trying to get out, and he will get sniped away by the Vel'Koz.
Can we take a second to appreciate how good Infernal Drake is for the Central team?
Oh. That Jinx Rocket, there was a Jinx Rocket that almost took out that Vel'Koz. Sorry, what are you saying?
You're good, you're good. You know, those Jinx Rockets, those get you. I swear, if every time I play against a Jinx and an Ezreal, at least one time they snipe me with their ultimate.
But then you learn your lesson.
You see, but I always miss the first one, just like I missed the first one here. Anyways, that Infernal Drake on Central is so good. Every single one of their members can utilize it really well. It works great, obviously, with your AD carry in mid. It'll always work really well with them. But their jungler, Jarvan, does really well with damage. Yorick does a ton of damage, can use that extra AD. And Vel'Koz, of course, can use extra ability power when it comes to how well they can be effective in this game.
And here we go in the top lane again. They're trying to pin down this Yorick, diverting a lot of resources there, but now Ornn is just being caught out, and J4 is trying to go in further. Gets the Cataclysm onto the Echo and just kind of stuck there, but here comes the Yorick ghouls finishing off, and Azir able to get the final hit on that kill. Yorick is just going off on this game, getting all of these traps down perfectly, getting the ghouls on, surviving the most. I would love to see damage, but I also want to see how much this Yorick has tanked.
You know, first game we wanted to have a counter for the central jungler to see how many times they got out of sticky situations. This time, definitely needs to be on the top laner, because that's the second time that they took a bunch of damage and got out still alive in what looked like to be a hopeless situation for them.
Looking at the overall kills too, you could barely tell. You can tell where the resources were diverted to. We have a 3-3-3 Yorick, we have a 1-1-1 Jarvan, a 2-0-3 Vel'Koz, and a 1-0-3 Jhin and Azir. They're taking down the Rift Herald now, but you can tell Yorick has had this game centered around him, and he's been there for every other lane now. He was their mid, he was their bot, and it's just he is the action at this point.
At the end of the first game, we said it seemed like the game revolved around top lane and jungle. This game seems to be the exact same thing. Central really wants to play around that side of the map, and it shows. It started off pretty poorly, but they were able to turn it around, and now everything is looking sunny side up for them.
And
woo!
Sona almost getting taken out. I was about to compliment on how well she's surviving. She's coming online with that healing, but that poke is just getting more and more intense now, and it's going to be harder for her to sustain not just herself, but the rest of the team through it.
I'm very interested to see the next dragon. If it's another Infernal Drake, and this team, the Central team, continues to scale, it's going to be so hard for Sona to be in the proper position to hit the right ults, because she'll just die if she gets hit by one or two well-placed skill shots.
And a little bit of miscommunication coming out from here, it looks like, because we're getting very staggered ultimates. Vel'Koz coming back to try and get it, but there's a lot. We had a Sejuani ult that whiffed, and it looked like they were like, okay, we're going to back off now. But then all of a sudden, Ornn ult came out, and then there was an Echo going in, and then a Sona ult, like, very staggering, and I think they were almost there in sync, but now we've got a problem with Yorick going free roam, split pushing in the bot lane.
So Waco gets a kill mid lane, right? But still loses their bot tier 2 tower just because of how big this Yorick actually is.
And now we're looking, everybody's kind of taking a step back. Azir's just looking to keep this lane pushed in mid lane, trying to get some extra damage, almost getting enough to go for the kill there. But using that turret to keep that mid lane pushed in, giving time for the rest of his teammate to back, and then get some items. And he's the one that actually has Rift Herald, so I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe he looks to summon that and then just leave. Nope, he's going to hold on to it, and he still has a decent amount of time left to summon that Rift Herald, and they have no tier 2s left to take. Or they have one tier 2 in the mid lane left to take. There's not that many options left, and it is a Cloud Drake that Central is poised to take now.
So, we've had one Dancing Shelly today. Will we get a second?
I would love to see a second Dancing Shelly. You want to know why? Because then we would be the cool casters that got both Dancing Shellys.
That's true, we would. We had the fun games.
Exactly, and Central is now looking to go bot lane, and Waco is in the middle of all of this, trying to figure out how they're going to answer. And Yorick is not caring, he's just going in, he's like, I got this, and Jinx is quickly taking out the line, but Yorick is also taken out, and they're able to catch that Sona out of position with that Jhin Deadly Flourish, and here comes the Shelly taking down the rest of the tower.
This will be tough, but this could be it for Central here. They could finish this game up. Shelly will be a huge addition to their push here. Getting at least a charge off on this turret, maybe a charge on the other turret as well.
And we'll just have to wait to see what's going to happen here. Yorick is pushing forward pretty heavily, and Sejuani's trying to buy some time, but getting caught out in the meantime. Shelly takes out the next tower, and just chaos is being unfolded now as Waco is desperately trying to get a hold of this game to push them back. Ornn is finally showing up, trying to buy some time, and they get the kill off of Azir, but will they get the kill? And they get the Dancing Shelly, the final hit from the Yorick, digging the grave, closing out this game, closing out this match. Really good job from Central, closing that game out, and overall showing a great job of game control and individual prowess.
I think dealing with adversity really is the theme of this game. They had a difficult time top lane early, but battled through it. They found a way to get the Yorick a lead, and then the Yorick took over the game, split pushing, dealing tons of damage, getting out of sticky situations. Really well played by Central, but props to both teams. I thought this was the most even of any of the series we've seen today, and I have to say, there were really strong performers on both sides of the Rift today.
And then, yeah, you can see it right here. That Yorick has a lot of damage in here, mainly because he was in so many fights, but he also was there for almost every objective. He was there, and you can see how good that Valkaz was at keeping the Jinx and the Sona held back, trying to keep them back just by doing damage over and over again. Everybody doing a really good job from Central. You can tell who was shining, but there was really no slackers on that team. Looking at Waco, they did a very good job keeping up best they could, but that Yorick just got to the point where they couldn't handle him anymore.
But look again, Ornn had really good damage, even in this game as well. Really admirable performance from him. I thought he played really well both games, honestly. It's a shame that it went the way that he did. It felt like the second game, jungler presence really swung that, and then also part of it is just the champion matchup. Yorick is really, really good in 1-versus-1 situations and was able to get that lead after he got some help from the Jarvan. But honestly, really strong performances from both teams. Can't be more proud of everyone that competed here today, and also both Central, Davenport Central, and Waco. Really impressed with Davenport Central, even if I'm a Davenport West grad.
And they did absolutely phenomenal job. Really awesome games. GG to everybody involved. And honestly, I said it before going into this match, I'm super excited to watch the semifinals tomorrow because everybody that's there has definitely earned their spot. And it's going to be very cool to see so many teams understanding the map pressure that they need to apply, understanding the pick and ban phase so well, and getting to that point where they can build themselves an advantage and really seeing who's better at these specific spots.
Definitely. I'm really excited. I think we have a lot of really strong teams that were able to make it through this today. If you're wanting to watch it tomorrow, please feel free to either come in or watch via stream. We're going to be starting tomorrow at 11 a.m. There will be seating available here at Paradigm in downtown Davenport. If you've never been to an esports event, it's really, really cool to see in person. Otherwise, we're available on YouTube. We're available on Twitch. I think we have other, including Mixer, and on Facebook. My producers just let me know about that. Really amazing opportunities for you to see really great esports, see really great competitive video gaming, and to be able to see it in the Quad Cities. Like, it's so amazing that we have these opportunities for these high school kids to come out and do this. And props to St. Ambrose for putting up a $12,500 scholarship pool available to the winning team. Speaking of St. Ambrose, we have to thank our sponsors because this wouldn't be possible without them. So thank you to Macomb Esports Association, Bytespeed, Intel, Video Games, etc., Respawn, HSEL, Wisconsin Esports, and again, thank you to St. Ambrose for being the title sponsor of this event and giving these high schoolers this amazing opportunity. Before we jump off, Swamp Shot, anything you want to add?
As always, it was great food. It was great entertainment. I'm excited to be here tomorrow. I'm excited to see more people here tomorrow. Feel free to show up and tune in if you can't show up.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Have a great night.